because it's going to be highly interactive. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to have our data viz in the wild, and then we're going to talk about fonts, and then we're going to, the rest of the day, like I've just called this HTML stuff, okay, because it's just like a bunch of stuff related to HTML. So we're going to talk about fonts first, which are not really related to HTML specifically, but you can, like, when you're rendering something to HTML, right, you're almost always using different fonts than what you would use. Like, it's going to be a different font than whatever the default ggplot font is, right? And so to get your plots to go with your theme, you often want to change the fonts of your plot. So that's where we're going to kind of start. Then we're going to talk about dashboards, which are one of the options that you can use for your final project for actually like deploying it, right? And that part is going to be super interactive. Okay, so I have slides on it, but it's going to be a ton of me just kind of creating and like live coding. Okay, and so I'm going to ask you all to follow along with me at the same time. So hopefully by the end of today, and I'll like give you time to do that as well, but hopefully by the end of today, you'll have like a really basic dashboard, and you should have a really basic website as well. The last one we have is the CSS stuff. So this is all the customization. My guess is we're not going to be able to get to that. We are just kind of behind where I had hoped that we would be at this point in the term. Generally, this term has been a little bit hard for me in terms of timing and figuring out the timing of things, because this is the first time we've ever had this class be 1 day a week. It's always been 2 days a week in the past. And so we have like a little bit of more time, well, quite a bit more time for each session, but then sometimes things just get wonky. So so we're a little behind, but I'm going to keep these slides in there. So if you want to do some customization with CSS, you can do that. You can also look at last year's lecture if you want. So let me actually show you real quick. Our website for our course, right, is dataviz2022.netlify.app. If you just switch from 2022 to 2021, you'll get last year's. Okay, and so what you can do is go to schedule, and you can see we have 2 meetings for each week here. But I think it was in week 10 last year. No, week 9. We have this customizing web pages. Okay, and so the slides are there, but you also have a video lecture recording there, which is these last slides that I'm thinking we probably won't be able to really get to today. Okay, so I would encourage you to look at that. I know we're all busy, so if you don't get to it, that's okay. But because I mean, obviously, we're probably not going to get to it in class, but that's an additional resource if you want to go further there. All of you got me your links, so that's great. I'm going to send. I think I actually was about to upload that to Canvas, and then I got distracted. So I will upload your peer review assignments like during one of the breaks today, as you all are like practicing. I'll do that. Okay, but you'll all have 3 groups to review, and then each group is going to get between 8 to 9 reviews. So you'll get a lot of feedback. Okay, I'd like you to do your reviews through GitHub by forking their repo, conducting your review, and then submitting a pull request back. For your individual group, I would recommend you probably not merge in any of those pull requests, because it's likely to just make things really messy, but it will still allow you to see the individual changes that they've made. So when you're conducting your review, right, you're doing 3 of them, you should plan to spend a good amount of time on this. So like, you know, at least half an hour on each review, and really probably more like 45 minutes would probably be about where I would say. If you're going much past an hour, then I would probably say, okay, let's just cut it and say this is as far as I got. Okay, I don't want you to spend a million hours on this. And certainly if you get up closer to 2 hours, then just stop. Okay, but I'd like you to try to conduct as in-depth a review as you can within about that time frame. Okay, and I'd like you to look at their code and go ahead and suggest code edits to them, right? So they can see that through GitHub, through the diff, and then you'll need to write like a summary of your review at the end as well. Okay, and so you can do that through your pull request. So you'll have those 3 to do, and otherwise, I think everything should be relatively straightforward. You can check out the syllabus for more details. And if you have any challenges with forking or submitting the pull request or anything like that, then just let me know and I can help you through that. Okay. So that is due next week. And then the following week we will have, so next week is week 9. And next week we're going to cover, we're going to review the homework. Okay. So I pushed that back a week to give us more time today for the HTML stuff. So we'll review the homework and then we're going to cover geographic data next week. And then week 10 is your final presentations. Okay, the presentation will actually be in a different classroom. We're going to be in Headco 142, I think, but I'll send out an announcement to confirm that. I'm hoping this week to put together a little flyer that I'm going to send out to the College of Ed and probably some other places to invite people to come to this, to see your presentations. But we're not starting until 2 o'clock. Okay, so if your group opted out, as a class, our class, we all still need to be there at 1 o'clock, right? But if your group opted out, you will go in that 1 to 2 o'clock time frame. Okay, and then at 2 o'clock, we'll have the judges show up. We'll do our little data viz competition. We have 2 hours. We probably won't spend that much time on it because we'll only have, I think, 4 groups left to present. But everybody in the group should talk. Everybody should present something. And again, we talked about this before, but just I want to know not just like what the final product looks like, but what your journey was along the way. What were some of the things that you struggled with that you found frustrating? And what were some of the things that you were like, yay, big success, finally got over this hurdle. I'm really happy with how this turned out or whatever, okay? So I'd like to see sort of the iterations of these plots, not just a final product. So you should have your final product, but at least some earlier drafts of those as well. Any questions on any of that? Okay, and then after that, you have 1 more week to turn in your final product. If you're, if you feel good after that, you can turn it in right away. If you want to do some revisions based on the feedback that you get, you can do that. If you did opt into the DataViz competition and you want your visuals on the USA Facts website, then you will have to make final modifications to match their style guide. So just a reminder for that. Okay, so the agenda today, as I mentioned, I think there's a fairly high likelihood we won't get through all of this, but we're going to get through as much as we can. Okay, so we're going to talk about fonts first. That'll probably be the next 20 minutes or so. And then we'll talk about Flex dashboards. We're going to do that together. We'll probably take a break right after that. Then we'll come back and we'll do basically the same thing, but we'll do it with Distill. So we'll create a website together. And with Distill, we're also going to talk about deployment. We'll talk about this a little bit, maybe with Flex dashboards too. But we're just going to deploy through GitHub pages, which is pretty straightforward. Okay, and then at the end, if we have time, we'll get through as much of the customization with CSS stuff as we can. But those slides are there for a reference for you, whether we get there or not. Okay, on to fonts. So, general advice. Fonts are hard. That's my general advice. Not really. Fonts are hard, though. That is true. And so my advice is to have your plots, the fonts of your plots, match the body of your output, whatever that is, whether it's a blog post or a website or a manuscript that you're submitting for publication. Okay, because it looks weird, for example, if you're submitting a manuscript and everything is in Times New Roman, and then you get to your figures and it's in Calibri or whatever, something else, Arial, I think is the default for ggplot. You can also, and I would encourage you to try using different fonts to distinguish things. So an exception to the rule that I was just saying is maybe in the body of your blog post, you're using Arial, right? But then you want the title of your plot to really stand out, okay? So you could use a different font for the title of your plot, but then you might want to go back to whatever the body font is for your axis labels and things like that, okay? You can also, within a web page, use different fonts for different levels of your headers. So like for H1, you're going to use one font. For H2, you're going to use a different font, etc. Okay. For code, I really strongly encourage you to always use a sans serif font because it makes and a monospace font. I should add that in there too, because it just makes it a lot more clear than if you have those serifs on there. Okay. And then the last thing is kind of just explore and try. It is always surprising to me how much of a difference just changing the font can make for every sort of output. Okay, it can make a huge difference in the look and feel. But with that said, try not to get sucked in too deep because it can absolutely be a rabbit hole where you are keep playing and playing and playing, and then, oh, my entire afternoon is gone. Right. So in RStudio, we're going to use the RAG package for fonts. Okay, so right now, go ahead and open RStudio and then run install.packages rag. Okay, and while you're doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So rag is so there's actually a system called AGG, AGG, and so rag is the R version, right? And it's an alternative device similar to Cairo or Ping or PDF or whatever. Okay, but you'll be able to use it to save it to any of those, so you don't have to worry about that. But you can use it. It's been integrated now with RStudio to work really, really well. So I have a link here to the announcement about it when it came out, which was about a year ago. And so you can check that out because it has more examples than what we'll get to today. But it makes working with fonts in ggplot much more seamless. Okay, after you have done this, after you have installed RAG, then, oops, I got to get RStudio going. You need to change it so that AGG is your default device. Okay, so I'll show you how to do this. I'm just going to share my whole desktop, I think. Okay, so here within RStudio, right, we're going to go RStudio preferences, or if you're on a Windows, you would go to tools, global options. So either way, it's going to be the same thing. Okay. And then from in here, now I don't remember what it was, general and then graphics. So in the general graphics, okay, you want your backend to be AGG. Okay, and that will probably only be available to you if you have installed RAG first. Okay, so you might have to do session restart R to get that to work. After you've done that, then you would click apply down here and then OK. All right, and that's going to make AGG be used anytime that you're creating plots down here. Okay. All right, the other thing is if you are going to do a new R Markdown document, right? So I'll go new R Markdown. Okay. What I want to do, we always have this like knitr ops chunk set thing, right? Where you can set your global options. So I have echo set to true. What I need to do now is also change the device for RStudio. So I would change the device here to dev rag ping. Okay. I believe there's some other rag ones like rag PDF or whatever. Okay, I'm going to save this just for now on my desktop. I'll call it class example. Okay, so this is all just getting us set up to go. All right, everybody there, can you give me a thumbs up if you are? Okay, I'm going to give about 20 more seconds maybe. Okay, once you have this installed, it's going to actually automatically detect the fonts that are installed in your computer. And so this is how we're going to do this. Okay, so you can actually just copy this code if you want. Okay, and I'm gonna come over here. I'll just delete all of this. And you can install fonts a bunch of different ways. You can look at the fonts that you have a whole bunch of different ways. One of them on Mac anyways, there's this font book. And this is actually how you would install fonts too. But so let's say I want to do, let's go all fonts. I don't know. Let's do something crazy. About, I don't know if I can do that. No. Chalk Duster. How about that? Okay. So for my, this is just like my normal plot here, right? Oops, I got to load ggplot. I could just load the tidy first, but whatever. All right. So here's my normal plot here, right? And then in my theme, I am going to change the text. In this case, I am changing the text of everything. Okay, so oops. So that is what is going on here. I'm saying I want the text of the entire plot to change. And what did I say I was going to change it to? Chalk Duster. All right, let's try that. But you could just do like Times New Roman if you wanted, right? But look at that. That is a very, very different looking plot, right? Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then you can see when because I have this as an R Markdown document and I have rag ping here, right? I can actually knit this now and it should, yes, it works for me. Okay, yep.
Is there an easy way to see which fonts are on your computer and how they actually do it?
Yeah, so for Windows or for Mac? Yeah, so for Mac, I really like the font book. That's the best way to, you have it on your computer already. It comes installed. And so you can go all fonts, you can install fonts this way too. So we'll talk about this more in just a little bit, but if you go fonts.google.com, right, there are 18 bazillion fonts here. And so let's say I like this one. There are ways that you can just directly import these fonts also, but you can also download them. Okay, so I'm going to download this one. I'll download it to my desktop. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to open this up. And hang on. And here it is, right? And then I can actually add this through FontBook by just going to FontBook and dropping this in. Okay.
Do you know how this looks for Windows?
I am not sure, to be honest. I think there's a similar process that you can use, but I don't know. So now I should have this one on my computer. I don't know if this will work, but I think it will. So let's try. So if I go, all right, so this would be SHIZURU. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it does. Perfect. Okay, so now I can knit that. And there we go. Now I have another very different font. Okay. I know there's ways to do similar sorts of things. I don't know how to do it on Windows because I don't have a Windows computer, but I know you can download the font that way through Google Fonts, and then you just have to figure out how you install fonts on Windows. And once you get it installed, it should be fine. Okay. All right, so that's cool, right? What's also neat about RAG, so you can keep kind of playing around if you want. I'm going to actually give you some time to play around here in a minute. But what's also cool about RAG is it will support all sorts of different things. So there's these things in code called ligatures, which will turn things like this into an actual arrow and turn this into an actual less than or not equal to sign. Okay, And so all we have to do is put the code there. And then for our family, we just specify a code that has ligatures, like fire code. Okay. We can also do things like I'm saying Twitter is the text, right, for my title. But then in my theme, I'm going to say for the plot.title, change the element text to have the family font awesome 5 brands. Okay. And what's neat is now we get the actual Twitter logo there, the Twitter icon there. And you can see in here, we have those ligatures as well. Okay.
And that shouldn't come out this way on ours, right?
It should if you have RAG installed and you have Font Awesome brands. So yeah, you probably don't have Font Awesome installed, but if you have, do you have Fire Code installed?
It doesn't look like it, 'cause it just showed up as exactly what you typed it in.
Okay, so these are both not fonts that come standard, right? So you'd have to download both of those fonts. But once you have them installed, it should work. Okay. It also works with emojis. And again, this is more Mac specific. I don't know what it is for Windows. It's probably, we could probably find out here quick. So I can look here just momentarily. But what we can do is, like I'm saying geom text, and for my label, I'm putting the little celebration thingy, right? And then for the family, I just say apple color emoji and then give it a size, and then there we go, right? Which is pretty neat because you can do a lot of things with that. Yeah. Yes. Yep. So yeah, we won't talk about this a ton. There's a little bit of examples in this in the CSS section later, but you can have, so not all fonts will be supported on all operating systems. So you can say display the font this way. And then if that doesn't work, here's some fallback fonts that you can use. All right. And that's just generally how it works. You specify the font and then you have fallback options from it. So Google Fonts, I've already showed you. And that is a neat, fun way to explore new fonts. There's also a bunch of other places you can get fonts, but I like this because there's just tons of stuff. And RAG is super nice because it can handle all sorts of different kinds of text, including even text that go right to left instead of left to right. So it's not like, you know, English specific at all. It will work for all sorts of different languages and writings and things. So you can download any of these, but the other thing that you can do that is neat is over here, right? We have our selected families, and we can say, so I can close this just to see where we get it, right? We could click this here, and that brings open this thing. So let's say like I'm interested in adding this one, right? Rather than clicking download, what I can do is just say, okay, I like this one. So I'm going to say select this style, and it will add it over here. Okay. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to remove that one, but I'm going to keep this one. And then we have this import command over here. Okay. So I don't want the link. I want the import. And this is actually the code that you would use to just import that font directly from Google rather than having to download it and install it on your computer. Okay. And then you can use it this way too. But what's neat is there's another package in R called show text that will actually allow that sort of interface with ggplot. Okay. So you don't have to go and download the families and install them on your computer, which is really nice, especially if you're just trying out fonts and you just want to see how it looks with different fonts and you don't want to, you know, install a million fonts. So here's just a quick example, right? You have to install it first, obviously, and then we're going to load it. And then you're going to say font add Google. And the first thing that you're going to say is the name of the font. Okay. So let me pull this over to our Markdown. Okay. So I'm going to go library show text and then font add Google. I'm going to go back over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the name of it right here. Okay. So we have the name right there. It's always going to say font family, and then it's going to say the name of the font. So we just pull the name of the font, Then we come over and we put that here as the first argument to font add Google. Okay. And then this next one is just how do you want to refer to it? Okay, so I'll just say Google. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll just put it like that, right? Or I could just say K even, right? So I'm going to refer to this font as K. All right, so I'll go library show text, font add Google, Kufam, and it's going to be K. Okay, now again, here's my basic plot, but instead of changing all of the text, maybe I'm going to do just the title, right? So I'd go text dot text. Oh, wait, no, I think it's title. Yeah, just title. Wait, no, it's not. Plot dot title. Yeah, plot dot title is equal to element text. And then for my family, I just put K. Okay, because that's what I referred to this as up here when I imported it. Then when I run that, this, well, I don't know that that worked actually. Sometimes I have had issues like this where it doesn't seem to work. So I can try this again. But yeah, so this particular one doesn't seem to work. If I go back to the other one, I know it does work. So let's try that. So you can always download them though too if you wanted to, but I think it's just some of the newer fonts. This doesn't work for whatever reason. Okay. And so let's come back here. I'll just pull this stuff. So in this case, I'm changing this. Well, I'll explain it over here. All right. So I have a subtitle. Did I have a subtitle? Oh yeah. Let me add this real quick. Sorry. Okay, so we're adding a subtitle to our plot. And then I'm going to say my plot.subtitle is going to be size 18 and the family is going to be SE. Okay, the SE is special elite. Okay. And then the other one that I'm using is MLD, which is this one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Okay. So the title and the axis title are going to be this MLD one. This one I'm importing here. And the rest are going to be this special elite. Okay. Let's see if that works. That doesn't seem to work either. Let's try rendering it. Maybe it will work. No. Maybe it just doesn't work interactively. I don't know. No, shoot. Maybe show text doesn't work anymore.
I'm not even able to.
Yeah, I know.
What are you? Oh, with show text? That's interesting. I just worked on put these slides together last week and it worked fine. This is how it's supposed to look. Let me go to show text real quick. This is not actually it. This is a blog post. Okay. Instead of doing that, it is on CRAN. So you could try installing from CRAN and see if that changes it. I don't think it's going to. It might be this package just broke. Did it work? Oh yeah, the package install I would expect would work, but here we go. Let's see. Yeah, so here's an example. This should work. But it's working. Great. Okay, so let's try this again. Oops. Show text. So it's probably just the dev version is broken. Nope, it's still not working for me. Regardless, you can always download them. So I'm sorry that doesn't work, but I'll keep messing with it. What I wanted to do is spend the next 5 minutes to have you play around with it. You can try debugging show text to get it to work. If that doesn't work, just go ahead and either work with fonts that are on your computer. So for example, rather than doing all of this stuff, right, I could just say family equals Times New Roman, right? And you can see that changed that, right? See how the subtitle is now very clearly a different font than this one. So you can look at your own fonts. You could even just use Word, right, to look at your fonts that you have and try that. Okay, so let's spend about 5 minutes playing with different fonts. And while you're doing that, I'll upload the peer review assignments. Okay. So hopefully you were able to have some success there. Again, I'm not really sure why show text wasn't working for me, but at least we have a workaround, so it's not like a deal breaker, right? I want to show you just a few examples. This is all from a guy named Will Chase. These are, I basically just took them directly from his slides. So you should follow him on Twitter if you're on Twitter. He's a data viz professional and he's very good. Some of these are from a talk he gave at RStudio Conf a few years ago. So this is a few examples of some epic fails with poor font choices. So this is a place called Megaflix, but doesn't really look like it, right? I will always love you, or I will always find you, in 2 different fonts. The meaning communicated a little bit different. Similarly, you'll always be mine. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so I did, but the point of that is just that this makes it, like, your font choices make a difference, right? One last thing I did want to show you very quickly is that, again, through, yeah, good. More people are having success in Atlas, which is great. So if inside your R Markdown document, and this is kind of like, you can see the CSS slides for more information on all of this, but you can change the fonts within your R Markdown documents in a very similar way. Okay, so let's go to fonts.google.com again, and let's just pick one. So let's go with this one again. I kind of like this one. All right, so I'm going to remove this one, and then I'm going to say select this one, and I'm going to go to import. Okay, and this is my import code. You see these style tags, right? We want everything that's in the middle of that. Okay, so I'll go style, and then I'm going to come over here. And what I can do in RStudio is I can create an R chunk just like normal, but I get rid of the R part and I say CSS. Okay, and then it's going to actually interpret everything in this chunk as CSS. Okay, so I'm going to copy that part. That's going to actually import the font. And then I'm just going to change the body of the thing, okay, of my document. So this is the font family I want. I'm going to copy that. And I would just say body. And then I'm going to put that in there. Okay, so this is going to change the font family for the body of this thing. Let's make sure we have some text though. So I'll go, here's some text. Here's some more text. All right, now when I render this, let's see what happens. Did I make a mistake? Let's see. No, it works. Look at that. I did not make a mistake. Okay, so that's how you would change the body. If you wanted to, this is like, again, sort of a preview of the last slides, but I just kind of can't help myself. Let's say we wanted the body to actually be this font. Okay, I could say, okay, well, I'm going to select this one. And what's neat is on this import, it will actually import both of them. So you can see we have Shizuru and Roboto both in there, right? So I'm just going to change my import to this one instead. Okay, so let me come back here, close this out. Up here, I'm going to just change that. Okay, but maybe instead of having this as my body font, I'm going to make that my H1 font. Okay, and for my body, I'm going to do the other one, which was this one right here. Okay, copy that, come over here, and put it there. Okay, then when I knit that, we have our H1, but everything else is that Roboto font. Okay, pretty neat, I think. Okay, and in those CSS slides, it tells you a lot more about how to identify what to put in those things and whatever. But, okay. All right, there's an example. We just saw that though. Already done that too. Okay, resources for learning more about fonts. This is basically all I'm going to talk about fonts. Maybe briefly touch on them as again if we get to the CSS stuff. But as I kind of said from the beginning, I'm very much not an expert in fonts. I mostly just do what I think looks nice and looks good to me. But one thing to keep in mind is the accessibility of the font. So specifically, people with certain reading disabilities have much harder times with certain kinds of fonts than others. So there's a good resource here that you can read up on that more, because especially if you're doing something on the web that's supposed to be accessible by a wide array of people, just like we want to be careful about our color choices, we want to be careful about the fonts that we're using to make sure people can read them. Okay, and then this is just kind of my last thing. Good luck, because I have been sucked down that rabbit hole a million times. This is another one that I heard about called Practical Typography that is supposedly good. I haven't really read it much. The last thing too, I thought I was already past the last thing, but you can also very regularly identify other people's fonts. So maybe you're browsing a web page and you really like what a specific font looks like. You can do things like go here, you can go, wait a minute, view. So this is the same in Chrome as well. My browser is called Brave, but it's basically like Chrome. You can go view developer tools. Okay, and then you can click this little thing here, and you can see when I hover over this, it tells me the font. It tells me it's 55 pixels and it's Pingfeng SC. Okay, everybody see that? So you can do that with a lot of different things. If we go to, I don't know, let's go to GitHub. Maybe I want to know what this font is. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's harder. So let's see if we can get this on. Yes, so that is Apple System. Whatever your Apple system is for me. Okay. All right. So use other people to your advantage. If you find something that looks really nice, go ahead and try to identify that font and then grab it if you can. There's also a lot of fonts though that are proprietary and you have to pay money to get. So not all of this is open source. This is also a really good blog post on additional fonts. Okay, so this is quite a bit more in depth than we're going to go here, but it talks about RAG and all sorts of other stuff. Okay, so you've got some other resources to learn more if you want. That's it. Okay, any questions on fonts? I have not, no. Like using something to actually maybe make this H bend a little bit to the left or something. Yeah, no, I haven't. But it sounds cool. I'd be interested if you did it. All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay. On to dashboards. Dashboards is one of my favorite topics because it's all R Markdown and it's pretty straightforward R Markdown. But the thing that you create ends up looking not like R Markdown. It's pretty different looking and pretty neat. So hopefully you will enjoy it as well. Here's a link to the Flex dashboard, sort of, I'm calling it the definitive source, right? That's probably where you're going to want to go for most of your questions about how to make things look a certain way. Flex dashboards, I will say, are not like infinitely customizable, right? There's sometimes when you want to do specific things and it's it's harder than you would like to make them look the way that you want. But they are pretty customizable and they're very fast, which is part of why I like it. Okay, so these are a few examples from Allison Hill's RStudioConf class. This is a dashboard that somebody put together on fatal police shootings. Okay, this was by Julia Silge. She has a blog post. We can actually go and look at the actual dashboard. Let's go do that. So here's the actual dashboard. And you can see we have these different plots, but we have different pages. We have tabs here. We can look at locations, circumstances of death. All right. And she has this nice sidebar here on the side too. So pretty nice, right? Here's another example. This one is from Jennifer Thompson. This one's very good too. Let's go look at that dashboard. This one actually has some interactivity to it, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But so you can see, like, we have these hover things. We can actually probably zoom in on a specific window here if we wanted to. Similar over here, we can actually click on these and it'll go just to them. We can say back and we'll get back to the full thing. We'll look just here, right? So that's kind of nice. We have, this one's for a study. So we have all of these things and you can see that these things now popped up here. They weren't there before. Those popped up on the side, right? Follow up, and then we have some technical details here on the back end, but really it looks like it's just a table. So pretty nice. Okay, and one more. Oh no, that's all I had. Okay, so that's like basically what we're going for. And if you want to use a dashboard for your final project, I would really highly recommend it. You can either do a dashboard or you can do a blog post through a website, which we'll do here at the end. Okay. So to do this, we're going to start out by just installing Flex Dashboard. Okay, so I'd like everybody to do that. Go ahead and run install.packages Flex Dashboard. And then after you have done that, I'm going to close this out. We're going to go just like normal to create a new R Markdown document. But once we get here, instead of saying document, we're actually going to come down here and we're going to say from template. Okay. And you can see I have a lot of templates. You might not have as many, but I'm going to click Flex Dashboard. Okay. And then I'm going to say, okay. All right. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do right away is just knit this thing, add some plots, do whatever, and just play. Okay. So when I look down here, I have a chart A, chart B, chart C. I'm just going to render this thing. It has nothing in it, right? But I'm going to save this to my desktop again, and I'm going to say dashboard EX. Okay. When I render this, it looks like this, which doesn't look that great, but I can open it in my browser, and now I see what it actually looks like. Okay. So go ahead and play with this for 5 minutes. I'd like you to actually add some plots and some other things, and then we'll actually get into this a little deeper here in a minute, and I'll tell you about a few additional options that you can do to make it look nicer and things. Okay, so go ahead and add some plots and just play around with it. Okay, so what we can do is we can define a new column just by this, right? Just by specifying a whole bunch of dashes, basically. Okay. We can also optionally tell it the data width. Confusingly, though, unless this has been fixed, because I haven't checked in a while, you have to be very, very careful about spacing. So you cannot have spaces around the equals, which is super annoying to me because I really think that you should have spaces around the equal sign, but you cannot. This will work, but this will not work. Okay, so when we look at our, let me get it back up again. So I'm gonna knit this again. Okay, and open it in the browser, and here we go. All right, let's come back here. We have, see how we have this column here, right? and the data width is 650, and that one's 350. What if instead I make this one 350, and then I'm gonna just copy that, chart B, and then I'm gonna add another one here, and I'm gonna just call this one 300. Okay, now when I knit that, and I'll just come back over here and refresh, you can see now I have 3 columns. Okay, within those 3 columns, maybe I want to have separate plots. So we have chart A, chart B, chart C. What if instead I have chart B? I can just say my amazing table, not chart. Okay, and then when I knit that, you can see that adds another one there. Okay, so basically you're going to use 3, you're going to do a level 3 header is all to create a new square within each column. Okay, and you can specify the width of these. So let's say instead, maybe I want to really change this. So this first one is much bigger. Let's say I want to keep that one at 650. And then the way I tend to do this is just have because it's really just proportions, I think. I think it's 650 pixels, but it ends up being just proportions. So we can go 650. Let's make this one now 150 and 100. Okay. Then when we refresh this, you can see how it squished everything over there to the side. Okay. So that's how we're going to change that. Okay. New squares, we already talked about this. So you're just going to put 3 hashtags and then the title of your square. Then you have your R code chunk. Okay. So it's just going to be a level 3 header. Okay. Every time, this is one of the things that is annoying that people very regularly want to change, but there is no way to change it that I am aware of. Every time you add a new square, it's just going to divide that space evenly. So we can divide the columns to make them not even, right? I just did that by making it 650 and then 150 and then 100, right? But every time we add a new square within a column, it's just going to divide that space evenly. So we can't squish one up and make the other one bigger. Okay, at least not to my knowledge. The other thing we can do, I tend to not do this, but you are certainly welcome to do this. If it's basically just what way does your brain think better, right? So the way we're doing it right now, we're thinking in columns, and then every time we add a new square, we're splitting up the square, so it's kind of like we're adding rows within the column, right? If instead you want to, you can change the orientation to be rows. Okay, so instead of doing column here like that, you would just say row like that. And then you can still, instead of data width, you would just do data height. Okay, and then each time you add a square, it's going to divide up that space horizontally evenly. Okay. Pages. We also saw in one of the other ones that there were multiple pages. Okay, so let's try this. I'm gonna actually add some stuff here to these. So I'm gonna put this back to 350. I'm gonna put this at 350, and we'll put this one at 200. We'll make it a little bit smaller. Okay, then my chart A, I'm gonna just say. The thing that's nice about these two is it won't ever echo any of your code. I think you can make it echo your code if you want to, but like by default, it's not going to. So I'll just go library tidyverse. All right, and then I'll go ggplot. I really need to update my R. MPG. And move this down so I can see it better. Go AES, DISPL, highway. Smooth, and then actually up here before that I'll go theme set, theme minimal 15. Okay, and then for my next plot I'll do let's see, MPG, take it here and go group by manufacturer. Oops. Summarize mean highway is equal to mean highway. And RM equals true. Okay, that gives me what I want. And then I'm going to pass that to ggplot. And I'm going to say, all right, I want, let's see, what do I want? Mean highway on the x-axis, and I want manufacturer on the y-axis. I'm going to say plus geom call, and I'll just say fill is equal to cornflower. All right, and actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this thing summary. All right, and then I'll do summary there. Okay, and then that way I can put a table here. So I'll do reactable, which we're going to talk about reactable later, and I'll do summary. Okay, and then last one, I'm just not going to do anything there for now. Yeah, I'll just keep it empty for now. Okay, so I do that, and let's look in our browser now. Oops. Refresh this, and there we go. Okay, so here's our table. Pretty nice. This is a table related to this thing, right? And then we have this plot over here. Probably should do one more plot, but I don't want to. Notice I have this untitled thing up here, right? So I probably want to change that. So let me close this, scroll up to the top, and I'm going to say my amazing dashboard. Okay, and then when I knit that, you'll see that that changes. And what was I going to do? I was going to do something. Let's see, not that one. Oh, shoot, did I get rid of my slides? I think I did. Okay, let's go history. Oh, yes, add a page. Sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right up here, I'm going to say, I don't know, highway MPG, right? And then let's just copy all of this there. And then I'm going to get rid of this. And then I'm going to just copy all of that again. But this time I'm going to say, instead of highway miles per gallon, I'm going to say city miles per gallon. Okay. And then all I'll do down here is I'll just change this to be city. Let's make sure that works. I think it works. Nope. It must be CTY. Yes, CTY. Okay, I'm going to add a geom point layer on there too. And then down here, we're going to say mean city. And I'll change the color to be, I don't know, fire brick. Sure that works. Fire brick red. Oh, right. I gotta actually run this thing. I think it's just fire brick. And I'm gonna call this summary city. I should change the other one to be summary highway too, but there we go. Okay, that's not great, but whatever. Okay, now I'm gonna knit this, and hopefully this works. Okay, so we have my amazing dashboard, and yes, we have highway miles per gallon. We have our three things here, right? We have our plot, we have our bar chart here, we have a table down here, and we have city miles per gallon, which we have the exact same thing, but now it's for city miles per gallon instead of highway miles per gallon. That's not quite the exact same, but it's pretty close, right? So yes, so for this, I would probably, well, whatever. I could keep modifying this. So I don't really want this to say chart A, chart B, my amazing table, right? And I would probably change that for both of these too, so that's not there, okay? But already we have what I would argue is a pretty neat little dashboard that we've created very quickly here, right? Okay. Questions on any of this? On Zoom? Okay. All right, so that's how we're going to create the pages. You already kind of saw this, but we do have reactivity that we can do too. So one thing that is a very easy thing to do is right here, like, let me go up to the top. This is my first plot, right? I'm gonna add a point layer. Let's say I'm gonna call this, I'll just call it P, whatever. Okay, I can also load Plotly. If I don't have it installed anymore, so let me install it real quick. Plotly. Okay, so now I'll go library Plotly, and then what I can do is I've saved this plot to P. I can go ggplotly P. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same. There's other additional things we can do here too, but I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. I'm gonna come back down here, and I'm gonna do, and I obviously don't need this again. Here. I'm gonna call this P city. Right, and then I'll go ggplotly P city. Okay, now when I render this, we should get some basic interactivity with our plots. So let me go here, refresh. And yes, you see we got some interactivity here now. Okay, and we can zoom in. We can pan around. Okay, and that works with basically any ggplot plot. Okay, you also saw already that we have this with Reactable too. So we have some basic interactivity here. We'd probably want to round this and do some other things. And we will talk about Reactable more next week. We're going to do that before we talk about geographic data. We're going to talk about tables, and then we'll talk about that. Okay. No, so the package is called Plotly. And yeah, so the package is called Plotly, and then the function is called ggplotly. Okay, if you get too complicated with this, it seems like they have made it mostly work, but for a little while, you had to do an additional step. So I kept this in here just in case you run into this. So it used to be, if you had more than one page, you'd have to basically turn it into a Shiny app. However, it's not nearly as hard as it sounds. All you'd have to do is up at the top in your YAML, on your Flex dashboard part. Oh no, sorry. Right here on one of the main levels, you just say runtime is Shiny. And then when you call these, you would have like P, ggplot, whatever. And then instead of calling ggplotly, right, you would just say render plotly on P. Okay, and then same here with the table, we'd say render reactable. Okay, I don't think you're going to have to deal with that, but if you're having issues, this might be the solution. So I'm leaving it in there for now. Okay, any questions on any of that? Okay, Julia Silges also had a very nice little sidebar thing, right? So we can do that as well. We just have to do it like this. Okay, so let's go back over here. I have had issues with sidebars in the past for various reasons, but if we put this in there, all we have to do is say this. So we'll say, what do we want to say? Cars and MPGs. Okay, and then I just have this dot sidebar thing. Okay, and then we can say, this is a really cool dashboard. Check out the cars, and then I'll just find a link. Cars. We'll go. Sure. Actually, let's go. Whatever. This is fine. This isn't no. I want obviously, but go there, and then we have. Wow, that's big. Then we have italics, bolding, all that stuff works. Okay, let's knit this. I'm not sure that this is going to work. We'll find out. All right, I'll come here. and refresh. And no, so it didn't really work. And the reason I'm pretty positive is because we have multiple pages. So I think we just try this first. And if this doesn't work, we'll go back to the slides. We just have to use equal signs instead. All right, let's try that. And that's going to make it, it should make the sidebar stay on there for across. Yeah, there it is. See that? And that's going to make the sidebar stay on there no matter what page I'm on. However, if I want separate sidebars for each page, I can do that. All I need to do is take this and bring it under my one here. Okay, but then I got to switch this back to single dashes. Okay, and then so I'll say highway miles per gallon, right? And then I can do that again down here, but I will say cars and city miles per gallon. Okay, and then that should work for both of them. Come back here, refresh. You can see it works much better on a like in a browser too than it does here. Oh, I didn't change any of the font though. I changed the title, but the title doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's go here. This is an amazing dashboard. Amazing, cool dashboard, whatever. Okay. All right, come back here, refresh. So this is a really cool dashboard. This is an amazing cool dashboard. Okay. All right. So that is most of the dashboard stuff. There's a few other things. So this is mostly what I just talked about. Use double if you want the sidebar to stay there for all your pages. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about, I think, and then we'll just kind of skip over most of the rest of it because we need to make sure that we have time to cover websites also, is, and I'll talk about deployment real quick here too, because that's pretty quick as well, is these tab sets. Okay, so let's come down here. Instead of having, like, so if I look at this, right, let's say with city, instead of having these 3 squares, maybe what I actually want is for a plot to take up the entire thing, but I just want little tabs that you can navigate through instead. Okay, so I can do that by, let me go back here. What did I say? Dot tab set. Yeah. So, and I think yeah, I'm just going to get rid of the data width because it doesn't matter anymore, right? And then I can get rid of this column as well. I'm going to get rid of the columns because it's going to be all tab sets now. Okay. So when I knit that, let's see what this looks like. Okay, here. Oops, that's not what I want to refresh. Sorry, this one. There. See the tab set? Pretty nice, right? And then on this one, we still have it like this. Okay. I just had a scary thought, which is I'm not sure. Okay, good. I wasn't sure I was recording. I was like, I think people are going to want this one. So, yes. Okay. So there we go. That is dashboards basically in a nutshell. If we want to, so this is real quick. If we want to do multiple things, there's multiple arguments you can add here. You just add them like this. So you're not going to actually put commas or anything. You just put spaces. Oh, last thing, forgot about this. This is another kind of cool thing. You can add data icons. Okay, so for example, if we go to Font Awesome, that is spelled wrong. Hang on, whatever. It's close enough. We can search for icons. Okay, so I'm going to search for car. And there's a car. Look at that. There's car and cars. But some of these cost money and others are free. So you can click free and yeah. So we have, these are the ones that are available to us for free. Okay, so I'm gonna do car, and you can see this is just FA-car. Okay, that's fine, but I think over here I can, yeah. So I would just do it like this. So I'm gonna copy that and come over here and let's go up to the top. Maybe I'll just do it right here on, well, no, not my sidebar. So chart A, I'll do it right there. Data icon, FA car. Oh no, actually I want to do it probably up top on my pages, right? So highway miles per gallon, I'll do FA car. Okay, and then maybe I want to do something different for my second page for city miles per gallon. Let's come back here and go to font awesome. And let's say I want to do, maybe I'll do the ID card. Okay, FA-ID-card. FA-ID-card. Okay, so when we knit that now, and not, these are the best icons for this, right? This is all just super fast, basic examples. But you should see, hopefully, little icons there now. Right? Pretty neat, I think. Okay, and there's all, you can add those all over the place too, not just like on headers or whatever. Okay, this is all kind of stuff I've already talked about. There are some ways that you can add text to your dashboards as well, which is very often helpful. And in fact, you probably should be doing this for your final project, because then you can kind of tell me about the iteration history too. So you can just actually put text in there, or the other thing you can do is if you're in like a tab set or something like that, you can do this little caret, okay, and then put some text in there as well. Storyboarding is a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to worry about that too much. You can change the theme, so let's do that real quick. You can look at all the themes here. So there's, oh, I guess you can't. I need to update that. But if we just Google themes, flex dashboard, you can see here's theming, flex dashboard. So yeah, here's a whole bunch of different ones. That one looks cool. Let's try that one. Oh, this is actually more of a specific theme. That's cool. I didn't know that they had done this. So they have made it quite customizable. I've always done it with just a CSS style sheet if I were going to do it, but let's just change the theme. Let's see, somewhere in here. Whatever. Okay. There are multiple themes, so let's just do this. Just to get a feel for it real quick. You know, this is not any different really than standard R Markdown, where you can change the theme and make it look quite a bit different. Okay, so hopefully this works. And here's what it looked like before, and now it looks like this. Totally different, right? Okay. All right. I'm not going to worry about any of that stuff. Let's go ahead and take a break now. So it is 2:30. Let's try to be back at 2:35. Okay, and then we'll spend the rest of the time talking about Distill and websites. And actually, when we first come back, I'll probably spend just a minute talking about deploying. Okay, because you deploy dashboard just a tiny bit differently than other ones. Okay, so I'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, off we go. So actually, before we start this, I do want to talk about deployment really quick. So we'll just do this for a few minutes here. What I'm going to do is on my desktop. So I have dashboardx.rmd, and then I have dashboardx.html. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here, which I'm going to just call dashboard X. Okay, and then I'm just going to drop those files in there. So obviously, had I have started with an actual R project, I wouldn't have to do this. right? But this is just where I'm going to publish from. All I need to do to publish this is I need to change my HTML to be called index.html. You can do this by, just changing the name of your RMD to be index.rmd, and then you don't have to do this manually, or you can just change the name of your HTML. Typically, I would change this to be index.rmd so that when I render, every time I render, the index is being updated. One thing I will say though is that index is not very descriptive, right? So you should be pretty careful about this, that your folder structure, like moving into that, is descriptive so you know what you're trying to do. Okay, so this is what we're going to publish. What we're going to do is we're going to go to GitHub, and we're going to say that we want a new repository. Okay, and I'm going to name it the same thing I named my folder, which was dashboard ex. Okay, and then I can put a description if I want, but I'm not going to add anything else in here. So I'll just say an example dashboard for EDLB. Okay, so I'm going to create this repository. It has nothing in it, right? Now I'm going to go over to GitKraken. And I'm going to say, okay, I want to get a new repository, and I'm going to init. So I'm going to initialize a repository locally only. All right, so I'm going to browse here, go to my desktop, and I'm going to say dashboard ex. Although actually, I'm just going to say there, and then I'm going to put dashboard ex here. So otherwise, I just have to do it twice because we want our path right here to lead to exactly the folder that we're at. Okay. So that's good. This looks good. This is all fine. I could add a git ignore if I wanted to. In fact, I'll do that. Why not? I'll do R. All right. I can add a license if I want. Just do the MIT license. That's fine. Okay. Then we'll create this. And now I have these two things, right? I'm going to stage those, and I'm going to say, okay, initial draft of the dashboard. Okay, commit those. And now I can't push this because I don't have it connected anywhere. So that's where I go back to GitHub. I'm going to copy this, come back here, and then I have this remote. I'm going to say add a remote. I'm going to do it with a URL, and I'm going to paste that there in the full URL. Okay, and then up here, I'm just going to put the name, which is the same as the name here, dashboard ex. Okay, so I'll say add remote. It's then going to get them connected. And now I can just push. Okay, it's going to say, where do I want to push it? The main branch. Sure, that's good. Push successfully. Great. Now I can refresh this. And we're almost there already. Okay, just by having this as index.html. All we have to do now is go settings, and we go to pages right here. Okay, and then we're going to say, I want to publish the main branch. Save that, and it's going to say, okay, it's published here. If I go there right now, I probably won't see it because it takes a second to render. So instead, what I typically do is I just copy it, then I come back here, I click my little gear here thing to describe this, and yes, that is where I want it. Okay, so there's the website. I'm going to get rid of these things because I don't care about them. All right, and now this should be a live link to my dashboard, but it's not quite there yet. So we'll wait just another second here. All right. Let me make sure. I might have done something wrong here. Did I do something wrong? Index.html. Let's go to settings again. Pages. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna just wait for a minute because that should work. Okay, 2 minutes. That should be good. There it is. Okay, now it's up there. All right, so there's my dashboard, and it's now published. I have a link. Any of you could actually go to this link right now, and you could see the dashboard, and you could play around with it. Okay, I will even put it in the chat so you can see. if you'd like. Okay. So that's how you're going to publish a dashboard. So I know that was fast. I'll just reiterate one more time, and then we will, if you need help with it when you actually go to publish your own dashboard, just let me know. All right. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to create a repository for it. It should probably have a repository just for your dashboard. So this would probably be separate from your final project repository. And then you're going to render it as index.html. Okay. And then you're going to go to the settings of your GitHub repository, go to pages, and then say publish the main branch. And if it's not the main branch, you need to publish whatever branch that index.html is in, but that's usually just going to be the main branch. Okay. It'll then give you the link, and it might take a few minutes before it actually goes live, as we just saw, but then you should be good to go. Okay. All right. So that's it for dashboards. Let's move on now to websites. Any questions on any of that though, before we move on? Okay. It's pretty neat though, isn't it? Like, I think it's pretty cool. All right. Okay, so I have a little sub agenda here for Distill. It's very big. I'm going to introduce Distill, then we're going to talk about deployment. Okay. So hopefully this will be just like the last one, where you all will follow along with me as we go. And by the end of class today, in the last hour that we have left, hopefully you'll have at least a basic site deployed. Okay. Distill has a bunch of features. It's not like Blogdown. Some of them, those are like ridiculous, but it has a lot of stuff. And so we'll get through some of it, probably won't get through all of it. And we're definitely not going to get to that extra CSS stuff at the end. Okay. But you will have a site by the end of today, hopefully. So just to start, I wanted to mention this website. This is like the definitive source for Distill, just like I showed you with the dashboard. Okay, so this tells you what it is, what it's like, what it can do. It can do all sorts of different stuff, and there's all sorts of additional links here to go to different things. Okay, so that's where you're going to want to go for more information. So please follow along. To start, we're going to go install.packages distill or remotes install GitHub RStudio/distill. I'd probably just do the one from CRAN, and I'll go ahead and do that just to make sure I have the most up-to-date one. Okay. Do you want to close this file now? Yes. Okay, and I'm going to go session restart R. Okay. And now we'll install that packages distill. Okay, that was pretty cool. All right. Now we're going to create a new project. Okay, so this is a little bit different than with dashboards, because dashboards are really just an R Markdown file. Okay, for a website, it's going to have a whole bunch of additional stuff. So it's going to have a lot of things besides just a single R Markdown file. Okay, so what we should do is create a new project for it so that it can house all of that stuff and be pretty self-contained. Okay, so I'll go create a new project. And I'm going to say in a new directory. And we have multiple things here. You might not have as many as I have, but somewhere you should see Distill blog or Distill website. I'm going to go with Distill blog. Okay, so I'm going to click this. And the first thing I want to do is this right here, configure for GitHub pages. As I just showed you, we can use GitHub pages as a way to publish. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to create a docs folder. Okay, so there will be a folder called docs where it will house all of the HTML from our website, and then it'll publish from the docs folder. So it won't have all of the R Markdown, it won't have all of the other data or anything. It'll just have the rendered HTML in there. Okay, so then I need to say where I want to put this thing. Again, I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it blog example. And for the title, I'm going to call it EDLD 652. Okay. So again, make sure you click configure for GitHub pages. Okay, that's very important. All right, then we're going to say create project. It's going to create a whole bunch of stuff for us, and then it's going to pop up like this. If I go to my desktop now, you can see I have this blog ex, right? Blog example. And this is everything it just created for us. It created this welcome post here. Okay. It has this site underscore YAML, which is we'll look at in a little bit, but that's how we're going to control most of the site. We have an about.rmd, which is going to be about us, like a way to introduce ourselves. And then here's that docs folder that I was talking about that we're going to use to publish it. Okay. And then we also have this index.rmd, which I think is not really anything. Push the wrong button there. Okay. So here's our welcome blog. It's got basically nothing in it. We're just going to ignore that for now. And then we have our site.yaml. Okay, so this is really going to control the look and of our website in a lot of ways. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then this is about our blog. And then this is not something you really need to worry about all that much. Okay, so from there, is that all I want to do? Yeah. Okay. From here, I want to do this first. What we can do is do R Markdown, render site. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to actually knit all of our RMD files. Okay. And now we have this docs folder. We're never going to modify anything in this docs folder. Okay, that docs folder is really there just for publishing. However, you can use it to preview what your site looks like as well. You also should be able to trash anything in there, and it will all be reproduced every time you run R Markdown render site. Okay, so let's just click on any of these. Let's go to index.html. This is what our site looks like currently. Okay, so we have home, about this blog has nothing in it. Click here, and then here's our first blog post. Okay. All right. So let's say we want to create a post. We can use this code. So we can either, right? We could either say, like, we could create just an R script here somewhere that you might want to do just so you don't have to remember this stuff every time. Go library, distill, and then you might want to have that R Markdown render site in here. Okay, and then from here I could say create post. Okay, and then this is going to ask me what is the title. There is, I don't think Distill has. Yeah, so Blogdown has these. Some of the Blogdown ones have these more like more like a graphic user interface for creating this, but I don't think there is anything for this still that way. Okay, so we're gonna say create post. We have, I'm just gonna do a question mark on create post real quick. Let's look at this. So we have the title. I think the title is pretty much the only thing we're really gonna be worried about. Okay, so I'm gonna say create post. I'm gonna say my first Distill post. Okay, I'm going to run that, and it's going to create all of this stuff for me. Okay, notice it is putting my name as Nora Jones. Why is that? I don't want to be Nora Jones. Okay, so I'm going to actually take that out. I'm going to come to my posts over here, and you can see now we have a new post here. Okay, but I'm going to just trash this thing because I want to change that welcome thing. And what we do through that is I think it's through about. I don't think it's through the site. Let's look. Yeah, it is in welcome also, and we can change it there, but it's going to pull it from, oh, maybe it is from there. I think I have slides on this too. Let me just check real quick. Oh yeah, there's this build website button. So you don't have to actually do R Markdown render site if you don't want to. You could instead build in this build tab, click build website. No, well that, yeah, and then that pops up the preview for you. So that's nicer. So then you don't ever have to go into that docs folder. Okay, so that's good. Let's keep going here. Connect to GitHub. Okay, that's basically it. I wanted to. Okay. Let's try to get that name fixed. So what I'm gonna do is let's go to the welcome one because I don't think it's on index. Yeah. So we'll go to post, welcome, welcome.rmd. And then I'm gonna say my name is Daniel Anderson. My URL is solution is and then you. Okay. And then I'm gonna just put some stuff here. Welcome to vlog. Thank you so much for stopping by. Here's a blog. And let's go library servers. Say message. Warning equals false. Go do diamonds this time, so it's not cars every time. Yes. Carrot, and then price. Let's say alpha. All right. Show visible 0 maybe? Okay. There we go. All right. I'm gonna go actually alpha is equal to 0.03. 1. That's there. Okay. So now I can just save this. I'm not going to actually knit it. And then I'll just say build website again, and it should render that. And now it still says Nora Jones there. When I come here, well, maybe it didn't render it. That's why. Okay. So I do need to probably knit this. It's been a little while since I've done this. You can probably tell.
Okay, so you have to be updated, but it's not a HTML file.
Yes, exactly. So now after I've done that, now you can see the author is there and then my affiliation, and then here's my plot. Okay. And then when I go back to my home, notice that plot is there as a little preview thing, right? So that's nice. And because this plot is there as Daniel Anderson, the next time I do create post, yes, it does come out with my name, my URL, etc. Okay, so after you change it on that first one, all the rest of them from there should just pull from the previous one, I think is what it is. Okay, and so again, I can create another plot here on I'll do something. Actually, I'll just copy this. I will, instead of, let me own this. Diamonds, I'm gonna group by cut. Summarize mean price. Yeah. Cuts. Okay, let's make sure cuts is good. Yep, and then we'll go ggplot cuts. Mean price cut, and then plus geom. And actually, that to be my fill. Actually, I'll do both. And then I'll do fill. And then I'll do alpha is equal to 0.8. No, 0.6. Not 86. All right, whatever. It's fine. Okay, so now I can knit this one. That's going to update my HTML. So this is just like basically there's nothing different that I'm doing here from a standard R Markdown file, but I'm getting blog posts instead, right? And so now I can click build website again. And when we open this here, now you can see we have 2 blog posts. They are by default displayed in reverse chronological order. So this is the older one, right? And the most recent one is on top. There is sometimes some weird, especially if you do posts very quickly together, like I just did, sometimes that can get out of sync and out of order. So you might run into those issues. If you have those issues, I think you can specify them more manually. Okay.
Both of those posts in the same code chunk?
They were different RMD files. Yeah, so let's go look at the structure of this real quick. So this is blog example, right? So this is like my home directory here. This docs file has everything we're going to publish, but then I have this posts _post thing here too. And the welcome one is the one that I started out with. But when I run that create post, it creates this new folder with me that has the date appended to it. And then it has some other, like my title on it. Okay, and then that is there. So let's say I create another post now, right? Come here again, my second distill post, right? Then let's just copy this, but I'll change the color so it's clear that it's something different. Okay, and we'll go like. Okay. All right. So now I can knit this, and I bet we're going to end up with those out of order issues that I was just saying. So let's go here. We can refresh, and yeah, see now we got things that are out of order. So there are ways to fix that. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we can get it figured out. But now, again, if I come over here, I mean, one way that's pretty easy is we could just change the date manually. So we could change this to be 2020, right? And that should, oh, wait a minute. That's the, yeah, whatever. That should work. Let's try building the website again. All right, let's come back over here, refresh. Yeah, so that changed it. Okay, so just changing the date is often an easy way to fix that, because that's what it's going to try to do, is put them in reverse chronological order, I think. Yeah, it didn't. I don't know why. Well, that's because, yes. So to do that, we would need to actually change the, because let me go back here. Inside of here, we have the date as well, right there. So we would need to change that to get the preview. We'd need to change that date to get these dates to change, but we probably actually don't want those dates to change because the only reason I'm changing those folder names is to get the order to switch. Right. Okay, so there's a bunch more that we can get to here, but before we do that, I want to go ahead and get this thing live, get it online and published. So let's do that. And then with the time that's remaining, we'll talk about additional features and things that Distill has, okay? And again, for your final project, you can either do a dashboard like we did earlier, or you could do a blog post like this. I mean, there's other options too, but every time I've taught this course, which I think this is the 4th time I've taught it now, everybody has always done one of these 2 options, okay? And so you can do multiple blog posts. So you could have a blog post for each visual, and in the actual post, you walk us through like what you started with, what revisions you made, and then what you ended up with. And a lot of the times I've seen people do this where they take their final product and they put it up at the top and they make it really big. So you see the beautiful visual right off the start, and then you walk them through your process. So I think that's a nice way to do that too. And I'll show you how to change figure size and all of that stuff too. But so either a website like this with the blog posts or the dashboard is the way that you're probably going to want to communicate your final project. Okay. All right, let's get this thing online. So we're going to go to GitHub. Going to create a new repository again. We'll call this blog ex. Okay. And I'll say example blog for EDLE 652. Okay, I'm not going to add anything else in here. Create repository. So this is the exact same process to this point, right? Then we're going to come here. Say we want a new. We're going to say init. We have desktop, and the name is going to be blog ex, right? That's what I called it, right? Blog ex, yep. Okay, so that's my path, user Daniel desktop blog ex. That's good. I can add a git ignore if I want. And I can add a license if I want. And then I'll say create repository. All right. I am going to also add to my .git ignore. Back over here. Let's see, I don't have it there. I'll have to do it over here. So if you are on a Windows, you might be able to see your hidden files. If you're on a Mac, you might not be able to. And some Windows, I know you can't see them either. So I don't know how to change it on a Windows, but on a Mac, there's a bunch of different ways, but the easiest is a shortcut. It's Command-Shift period. And see how those hidden files are shown or not shown. So by default, it looks like this. But in this, like for me, I very often need to see those hidden files, specifically the .git ignore file. So I'm going to grab this and open it up in a text editor. I tend to use Visual Studio Code. Sublime Text is also quite nice. This is the git ignore that it created for me, that Gitkraken created for me. But I also have some Mac stuff I want to get rid of. So I'm going to say underscore .ds underscore store. Okay. And come back here. Oops. Yeah, so one of those things went away. A bunch of this stuff is like they're like libraries and things to help your actual post render. So it's kind of, it seems like a lot of stuff to commit, but it's usually not that much. Okay, so we'll say initial site. Okay, and now we're going to come back to here. I'm going to copy this, come back here. I'm going to add my remote through my URL, blog-ex, paste that in there, add remote. Okay, now I can push that up to the main branch. It's successful. Come back here, refresh. Great. Now we're going to publish this website through Pages, just like we did before. However, we want it to publish through the docs folder, okay, rather than through the just main here. So we go settings, we go to Pages, we say main branch, but not the root folder. Okay, instead, we want the docs folder. Okay, and we're going to save. And this is what our website is going to be. Again, it might take a second. This one's actually quite fast, though. It's probably faster than the dashboard. But I still like to do this. Come down here and paste that in there. I think it's actually already there by default. Get rid of this stuff. We can add some topics here if we want it to be discovered by other people. You know, still, whatever. Okay, save changes. Repository topics must be. Oh, I messed up on the. That is what I want. Okay, so we'll say distill, and then our stats, our studio. Okay, cool. So those are just little ways to make it more discoverable. So I can click on this. I'm going to open it in a new tab, and you'll see other other packages that are associated with the rstats keyword. Okay. Okay. So now let's click on this. Let's see if it works. Yay, it's working. Okay. And what's neat about this now is also every time I make a change and I push, it's going to update that. Okay. So this blog will be this blog here will be updated as I push changes to this repository. Okay, and it will all happen automatically. All right. So let's close out a couple of these because I don't need all of them open. All right. So we've connected to GitHub. We've got it all done, right? So that's the basics of getting your blog up. So let's talk about a few additional details at this point. So one of the things we can do is we can add keywords to any given blog post, okay, or categories rather. So if I add those categories, they will end up popping up to the side here. So for example, with both of these blog posts, my first one and my second one, right, they are both about diamonds. They're both using the diamonds data set. So what I probably want to do is create a category for that. So I would come here, you can put it anywhere, but oops, not that though. Like that. Categories, and then we're going to say diamonds. Okay. And then I'm going to do that for my other one as well. So I'm going to knit that. And then, cool, I don't care. And then get my, not my welcome one. Oh no, it was my welcome one, wasn't it? But whatever, we'll just do it for the second one, okay? So, oh, that's the one I already did. We'll do it for our first one. Maybe if I can get it open. Okay. All right, so we'll knit that one now too. Okay, now when I click build website, it should create for me. Actually, I probably do need to open this in the browser at this point. See how it has these categories for me now? I have articles, which is interesting, but it also has these little tags here. So I can click on diamonds and you can see all of the posts that I have that are associated with that diamonds tag. Okay, and you can see I can get to it that way too. Okay, so you could do that. So for example, in my own personal blog, I have keywords like data viz, and I have ones that are like, you know, whatever, statistics or machine learning or whatever, whatever I'm doing. Okay, so it's just kind of a way to help you keep your posts organized. All right, navigation. One of the things I really like to see in websites is a link to the source code. Okay, so for us, the source code is always going to be our GitHub repo, right? So what we can do is just add that here. Okay, so let's go look at our YAML, which we haven't really looked at yet. And you can see we have the name of this is blogX, whatever, that doesn't really matter. But we can change the title if we want. We could add a description to it if we wanted. The output directory is to the docs, but then we also have this, okay? So this is our nav bar. We have on the right, we have a home and about, okay? I'm gonna change this to be on the left side. So if we look right now, what we got, let's see, that's another one I want this one. We have home and about, okay? I'm gonna move those over here instead, and then I'm going to put my source code over here to the right, okay? So that's on the left, and now I'm gonna go, okay, on the right side, I'm gonna have text, and actually, no, I don't want text, I want icon, I think is what it is. Let's go back here and look. Yeah, icon, fa-github, all right? And that's, let's see, do I need to, I don't even need to have it in quotes. fa-github. Okay, and that's gonna be the Font Awesome GitHub. And we can see that again by going back to Font Awesome. Okay, and we could search for GitHub, right? There it is. We can click on it, fa-github. Okay, so FA is just saying use the Font Awesome icons, and then fa-github is the one that we're going to use. Okay. All right. And then we're going to make that thing link. That's what href is for. Link to somewhere else. So we're going to make it link to our actual source code, which is here. Right. So I copy that, put that in there, save. All right, let's build this website again. All right, and then I'll come back here and refresh. And notice home and about are over here now. And we have this little GitHub icon right here, which is going to link to our source code. Okay? Pretty nice. All right, there's a bunch more that we can do. I just want to show you at least one more thing. And then I know it's been kind of a lot of me talking today. So then maybe we can wrap up a little early and you can mess with it yourself and try to get it as customized as you want. Okay, we can also add drop-down menus. So for instance, this is where I've created a drop-down menu for labs. So it would just have something that says labs, and then we would have a menu where we'd have multiple things. Notice with my href, I'm just linking to the different HTML files. Okay. Your base URL. Yeah, so we have a, we don't even need one really. Yeah. If we wanted to, we could add a base URL here, add some additional things. We can also do drafts. So the thing that's nice about drafts is that they will not be published until basically you say they are, but you can kind of preview your website with them. Okay. And then this is the last part that I really wanted you to try out. Okay. Which is you can make the, and you can do this with tables and figures. You can change the layout of them to be different. Okay. So let's go back to our, not our welcome one. Let's go to post. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to my first one. Okay. And then here in my options here, I'm going to say layout. So layout equals L-body is the default. Let's try layout equals L-screen. Okay. All right, let's knit this now, because this is a plot down here that we're creating, right? Oops. All right, yep, that's not the right one. Shoot, I am gonna have to Sorry, this is hard because but there you go. That's what it looks like. Okay, it fills up the whole screen. Okay, and you can change this a bunch to all of these different options. Okay, so we have, sorry, too many things open. Let's go L-body outset instead. Okay. And then when we render that, now if I refresh this, there. So now you see how it's just kind of outside of these, like the margins there. Okay. I'm going to switch that back to the way it was though, because I want it to be really dramatic. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this up to GitHub, and we'll see that pretty soon after I push, it's going to, so here's my changes, right? So for this part, and this part, and this part. So generally, okay, whatever. Generally, I would want to have done those things in separate commits because I did the nav bar stuff and then I'm changing the plot, but I'm just going to put it all in the same commit because I'm trying to go fast. Nav bar changes and plot layout change in post 2. Okay. All right. So I'm going to push this up. Now we'll come. This is on my local still, but this is live, right? This is datalorx.github.io. So if I refresh, we should see these things shoot over here, and we should see our link over there to the source code. And not quite yet, but soon. Let's click on this one, see what happens there. Nope, see, this is still within here. All right, let's make sure it pushed up there. Did I actually push it? Yeah, 44 seconds ago. Yeah, 44 seconds ago. Okay. It's taking longer than, there it is. Took a little longer than I expected. It's interesting too, I have no idea why this happens, but when I have it locally, I don't have this search bar up here, but when I push it up there, I always do. So whatever. This still doesn't look right though. Oh, there we go. Yep, there's our giant figure. Okay. All right. So I know this has been a ton. There's still a lot more in here. One last thing, I promise this is going to be the last thing, and then I will let you all play and or just call it a day. There's these side note things are pretty neat. You can actually use side notes for plots too. So if you're familiar with Tufte style, where there's like the column and then you have the side notes, that's what this is. And so that's kind of a nice thing to do. There's also, this is the last part I wanted to show you. You can do distill, create theme, and then you can call it style, or you can call it whatever you want to do. So let's just mess with this for just a second. Okay. I'm going to come here and say create theme. And I'm just going to call it style because I'm going to style my website. Okay. It's then going to create this style.css thing for you. And it also does a few additional things. So if we go back to our YAML, our site YAML, notice somewhere in here, maybe it's not in here. Oh, maybe it's in index.rmd. Nope, I don't know where it is. Actually, I think it is supposed to be in site YAML. It just must not make that change for us. Oh yeah, okay. So it gives us some to-dos here. So it said it created the CSS file at style.css. So to do, customize it to suit your needs, add theme style.css to your site or article YAML. Okay, so you can either make this site-wide or you can make it article by article specific. Okay, I'm going to make this site-wide. So I'm going to put it on my site, and I'm going to say the theme is going to be style.css. Okay, So I can close that out now. And now we just need to customize it how we want it to be. So what we can do is just kind of read through this, edit the CSS properties in this file, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here we go. Title size, body size. This is telling you all the different stuff it is, right? But what we can do is, so we can specify the fonts and things. Let's see, what website header and footer. This is what I was looking for. So like the easiest thing to really change the look and feel of your site, right, is going to be changing the color of this and maybe the background even, and things like that, okay? So for the header, this is some RGB color. Let's go to HSL picker. Okay, and I'll make it a pink color. All right, make it that color. Sure, why not? Okay, I should just be able to go like that. Okay, and then the background color, hover color for, oh, that was for the text color. That's not what I want to do. I want to change that to be the background color, that color. And then for the text color, I want it to be white. And for the hover color, maybe I want it to be this, but like lighter. Okay, so hover color. That. Okay, let's bump up the text size too, just because. I'll bump that way up. All right, let's go build website. And look at that, totally different. All right, so oops, I need to this again. All right, so that looks a lot different now, right? And here's my hover. Okay, and so you can mess with, like, there's a ton of stuff that's in here already, and you can kind of just mess with it. Let's see, and the other thing that you can do, and there's a lot more on the CSS stuff in the slides, but I can go again, view, developer tools, and let's say I want to change the background of the whole thing. I actually probably want to do body, right? So let's say I want to change the body background to, let's go again, HSL picker, to, let's go that pink color. They said in there, okay, that, but let's take it all the way to like 97. Okay, so inside of here, oops, inside of here somewhere, I'm just gonna go body, background color, and paste that in. Okay, save. And because I already have this running from that style.css thing, this should, if I just refresh this, should work. But it didn't. Let's switch. So let's try build website. That color might just be too white to really see it. Nope, it sure isn't. So we can refresh and there you go. All right, so now I have this like pink theme that I created pretty quickly, right? And you could import fonts and all of that kind of stuff too. Okay, all of that is just like kind of more fun stuff, but you can customize to your heart's content. And there are lots of really good, I think there's a Distill showcase. Well, yeah, that's not the type of Distill blog. The distillery, yeah, this is what I was looking for. So you can see a bunch of examples here. I'll put this in the chat real quick too, so you can see how people have customized theirs if you're interested. I mean, they all look fairly similar. One of my favorite, oh, this one's like totally different though. One of my favorites was, let me see if I can find it real quick. Like, that looks pretty nice too, I think. I don't know, whatever. I'll put this in the chat real quick, but how are we feeling? Overwhelmed? Yeah, sorry. This is going to be recorded, so you can come back to it, but there's all sorts of stuff that you can do, and that's basically the point, right? You can do a little bit and you'll get most of the way there. And then from there, you can customize to your heart's content or just not customize it at all. Okay. And if the website stuff was too overwhelming, then do a dashboard. Okay. If the dashboard is feeling better for you. Okay. You don't have to do one or the other. I just want you to see them and hopefully get at least a little bit of experience playing around with them. All right. So again, this will be recorded. I'll get it up sometime around the middle of the week. Your peer review assignments are up now too. Okay. All right. Next week. Yep. Any questions?
The homework is also due.
Yeah, so the homework was originally supposed to be due today, but I pushed it back a week. So you have an extra week for it. So it's technically due the same day.